In many operas, there are overtures, there are preludes, there are intermezzos. But in Tosca, there isn't. The ominous chords are three, and they are called the Scarpia chords. These chords symbolically put us into a mood of horror. Scarpia's chords are very, very powerful. When the conductor goes to the podium and he lays the baton, we hear those ominous chords that actually shake the whole theater. They are the chords of evil.
Angeletti's character in Tosca, what is his anatomy of murder?
He is an escaped fugitive from the Republic. He knows that by going into the church, he will find the sister's key that was left for him to be hiding. He needs to hide. If he doesn't hide, he knows what the outcome will be. And the outcome is very simple. He will be executed, like all the other fugitives that had escaped from the regime. Angelotti now enters the church. There in the church, he sees his best friend. He make a pact. And the pact is that I will never give away where you'll be hiding. Go and hide. Hide in the well and do not go anywhere else. He gives him a basket of food. All of a sudden, the food is given to him. He takes off and runs. He runs for that hiding place because as he's running, the agents are looking for him. Now, Tosca will eventually give him up under the pressure of the regime, of the pressure of one person that will make her confess. And of course, we know that person would be Baron Scarpia. He will eventually take his life. He'll be found in that well before the agents find him. But eventually the agents do find him. And of course, we know that he has committed suicide. But we know that Tosca is really behind all of this because she gave him up. She gave up this best friend of Cavadoci only because of the fact to save her own life in the trilogy of the murder scene. Scarpia was a villain, but he also was a ladies' man. He loved his women like he loved his wine. It's an aria that he sings talking about bottles of wine. Every bottle of wine was like a conquest of a woman. But he enjoyed his women. But he had one in particular that he wanted, and he wanted her so badly he would have done anything. He actually would have traded his soul for her. By trading his soul, he would have Tosca. But in Scarpia's eyes, the lust of Scarpia was the lust of Tosca. What else could anyone want? A bottle of wine? He says, no. But you who I want. This is the most critical part of the opera, of the end of Act 1. At this point, we know that Scarpia's obsessed. Is he obsessed with God, or is he obsessed with Tosca? He gets caught up with this emotional hymn of praise, as he too sings the praise of God, but he does it ironically. And he makes the gigantic sign of the cross, and at the end of the sign of the cross, he kneels, and he hits himself in 3 times, symbolizing the mea culpa, that he too has some type of religion in him. And he looks up to the cross and he says, you too, their own lust for love and power. This was Scarpia's chord, and this is what Scarpia was all about. Not because of God and the great Te Deum, but because of his own evil. As Scarpia is sitting there, eating his very simple supper, she sees a knife. She sees a knife knowingly. If she murders him, she will have a safe conduct to leave Rome, to take her lover with her, to leave. But she knows one thing. She has to murder him. In order to do this, she has to become very, very affectionate. He asks her, what do you think of me? And she says, I think a lot of you. She picks up the knife, and as he approaches her, she takes this knife and she jabs it into his heart and saying, here is a kiss of Scarpia, here is a kiss of Tosca. And she cries out, now choke on your blood, you villain of villains. And he falls dead. But before he falls dead, she looks at him and says to him, Evanti a lui tremava tutta Roma, and here all Rome trembles. She places 2 candles on each side. And as each candle is placed, we hear that ominous sound of the Scarpia chord. But before she leaves, she places the crucifix on his chest. She looks at him for one more time, and she sneers at him. And she runs off with the papers, the safe conduct, after murdering. This, too, is actually 2 murders already in her honor. She committed 2 murders as a prima donna of Rome, the most celebrated soprano of all times. Tosca. Floria Tosca had committed 2 murders, the death of Angelotti and, of course, the death of Baron Scarpia. How could one beautiful woman commit this? In her aria, she pleads to God. She pleads the beauty of God. I live for art, I live for love, and I live for our God. Murder? So religious of a woman that committed this? How could this be? But it did happen. We know for a fact that Scarpia still, from his grave, had the final bearing on this murder scene. So, we have Angelotti, who's been at suicide. We have Scarpia, who's been murdered. And now Cavadosi will be murdered. As he's painting this beautiful portrait, he thinks of the beautiful memories of his love, of course, of Tosca. In his aria, Ricorda Alma Mia, he thinks of the sweet harmonies of love that he had with her, walking through the parts of Rome, having cake, having coffee, having lunch. He thought about all these beautiful memories that he fell in love with this one woman, this most beautiful woman of all of Rome. As Tosca enters the church, she sees him working on this wonderful, wonderful picture of the Madonna, the picture of the Maddalena. She becomes infatuated. Jealousy. Why do you paint this woman so beautiful? Don't you have me? And he says, but why are you jealous of a painting? The painting of the Madonna you're jealous of? And she keeps noticing that the eyes are blue. And she says, you must change the eyes. The eyes must change the color to brown. And he says, but why? But she never mentions the fact that she's jealous. Her lover is subject to be executed by the orders of Baron Scarpia. But she was not aware that this would be a mock execution. He bargains with a ring that he gives to the jailer in order for Tosca to meet with him for the final time. In the beautiful aria, they sing together their passions, their love that they had. They want to be away from all of this, from all the uprising was taking place now in Rome. They kiss each other. As she kisses him, she tells him to pretend that you are an actor, one of the best actors in all of Rome. When they fire and the guns go off, fall dead. And as soon as they leave, I will wake you and we will take off. He asks for a handkerchief over his eyes. He refuses it because he knows this is a fake execution. The squad lines up. They shoot him. He falls dead. As the soldiers march down, she runs over to him, wakes him up and says, Mario, Mario, wake up. It's time for us to run away. Right then and there, she knows it's up. The murder is over with. He's dead. She doesn't know what to do. From this point on, Spoleto and all the agents run up looking for her, knowingly that she had murdered Scarpia. The jump is very intense. Not only is it intense for music, but it's also intense of the character. That the agents are running up the stairs crying out her name, Tosca, Tosca, Tosca. She sees them and she runs, she throws her coat off. She says, Scarpia, avanti addio, I will meet thee before God. And she jumps to her death. But her safe conduct is in hell. When Tosca jumps, we hear those final bang. Those are the final chords from hell that are summoning her soul. Summoning her soul to hell.
Was she a murderer or a victim?
I think Tosca was a victim because, in essence, she really was left with nothing. She was a very beautiful, very educated woman. Plus, she was an opera singer to begin with. We go back to that famous aria, that Vici d'arte. I live for love. I live for passion. I live for God. How metaphoric is this? How do you live for God and committing all these murders? So she really had all these elements of what Tosca was all about. But if we look deeper, she really wasn't what she said she was.